Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Shelley.
Welcome to my channel. If you all don't know, Elizabeth has a wonderful channel, and it's a literary princess. She is Victorian reader queen. That's what I think of you as. And you brought a superlative to me
I
today.
did. I brought for you today the book that made me say, wow. Like
Okay.
the most impressive book I read this year.
Really?
Yes,
The most impressive.
the most impressive.
Okay. I'm so curious. I don't know what it is.
So it's a reread. And the
Okay.
first time I read it, I hated it.
Okay.
I gave it 2 stars. I was like, I guess there's some merit there, but uh,
You're like,
that's
I suppose you get some stars.
I guess like you're not complete trash.
Well, I don't know what the book is, but tell me, how long ago did you read it then?
I read it. It was either in 2017 or 2018. I think
Okay.
2017. Had been home from my master's degree for about a year, and I just got it out of the library because it's a very well-known classic author who I hadn't really read much from, and I was like, I should read one of this person's novels.
Oh,
And I went with probably the most famous of their novels, one that
okay.
a lot of people love. And I
Yeah.
got it out of the library. I think I read it in 2 days, and I was just not about it, couldn't stand
Okay.
it. And I actually said to somebody who I was talking with over on Tumblr, I was like, I just didn't find it that impressive.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
I've thought for years now that I did not like this writer's fiction.
Okay.
And this is a very popular author in my department. I can
Okay.
think of 3 people off the top of my head that like specialize in this author and are always going on about how great this person is. And I was always just like, no.
Interesting. I'm like really curious now.
Right. Shall I end the suspense?
Yeah, yes. Well, first of all, actually, before you do that, I would like to know what made you pick it up again. If you really kind of were like, it was all right.
I'm teaching it.
Oh,
So I'm teaching British Literature 3, Romantics, Victorians, Modernists, and Postmodernists. And I am teaching
okay.
this novel in the modernist section because
I
it's a
cannot.
short
Okay.
novel, and I needed a short one because we only have 3 weeks for each period.
Wow. Okay. I like don't know what it is. And I'm like, what is
I
it?
think it's one that you really like.
Okay.
I think I have heard you say you really like it.
Okay. I'm ready.
This is Mrs. Dalloway by
Oh,
Virginia
I
Woolf.
I love that book. Although I will tell you, when I talk about it, I have one very kind commenter who's very, very kind about it, but he says it's unreadable. And it's so funny because I'm like, everyone should read it. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about it. Tell me about the transition from like what changed your mind about it, I guess.
So I don't like, I'm trying to think back to what was happening when I was reading it originally. And if I was just not paying attention or,
Oh,
but I was so impressed with how vivid everything is in this book and the way that she brings us through London as the characters are walking around. And it's almost like you can almost see it like a movie,
oh yeah,
the way that she does it,
absolutely.
even though so much of what's going on is in the characters' heads. But it was just playing like a movie for me, and I was just astonished. I was really paying attention to the writing this time and her just absolutely beautiful sentences.
Hmm.
And I absolutely just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what was I doing in 2017? Elizabeth, what?
I will say that I read this with I read Mrs. Dalloway with two other people. One person DNF'd it.
Okay.
The other person described it, I think neither have channels anymore. The other person described it as tedious. Because you're getting because it's all set in one day.
Yeah.
And so you're getting like these weird, almost like not weird, but it's just like she sometimes focuses in on this minutia of the day that you're just like, what?
Yeah, like why are we focusing on this?
Exactly. But I walked away feeling like I had finally understood stream of consciousness writing.
Yes.
Because I had tried it a couple of times. I had tried Proust and I tried a couple of things, and I feel like I just didn't understand what was so impressive about that. And then when I read it, it's literally like and I've described it like this before, but you're looking at something with the character and something else will happen and it will actually shock you as like a reader. Like I was like, like as if you watch something happen because of the way that you're reading it. And no other reading experience can render that for me in that same exact way. Like I can be surprised that a character died. I could be surprised that something happened, but not quite in the same way, like almost as if I'm being actually forced out of a moment to another moment, like when you're actually shocked at something.
Yes.
It's so weird.
It's experiencing it in real time. Because the way stream of consciousness is supposed to work is it's how the human mind is experiencing things.
That's interesting.
And so she's taking us into the heads of these characters and we're like going about them with their thoughts and what they're seeing. And then when they get shocked by something, we get shocked by it. And I just,
I'm just so glad. I'm so glad that you built it up and put it in suspense. And I'm really glad that you reread it. I'm curious as to how your students will react.
I cannot wait to talk to them about this. Actually, all of the books I'm so excited to talk with them about because they're going to have such interesting reactions.
Right. I have a feeling that Mrs. Dalloway is going to be very polarizing.
I would agree. I do an activity when I'm doing first year writing about first sentences. And I have a list of famous first sentences that I actually have on a mug from literature. And Mrs. Dalloway said she would buy the flowers herself is one of them. And so I always put a bunch of them up there and I say, okay, which ones pull you in and why? And which ones make you want to stop reading? And without fail, Mrs. Dalloway, they're always like, why would I want to keep reading this? I don't care that she bought the flowers herself.
Oh, but see, I'm like, even as you said that, but I don't have other choices. I don't have other choices to think about, but I'm like, she decided to buy the flowers herself. I'm like, that means that somebody else could have been buying the flowers. But then I don't know if it's because I like the book that I'm like, oh, isn't that just a great first sentence? But I'm like, it's probably really not the most, it's not the most intriguing, even though it does give you something. I mean, it gives you something. Yeah. But that's interesting.
But like the other ones they have, the one that they always like is Fahrenheit 451. It was a pleasure to burn.
Oh yeah, yeah. I read that recently and I liked it, but I didn't love it.
I haven't read it.
Okay.
Actually, it was taught in my high school, but in the like general class, and I was in the honors class, so I missed it.
Oh, well, I mean, I mean, it's not like a waste of time because I think Bradbury has a particular style, and he has a way with words, and that is a great sentence. That's a fantastic first sentence. Like you can't. I mean, it's certainly better than Mrs. Dalloway decided to buy the flowers herself. But
more of a mystery.
I know, right? But of the two, the books though, Mrs. Dalloway is just fantastic. And yeah. Have you decided, since reading Mrs. Dalloway, have you read any more Woolf?
I haven't. So I've read A Room of One's Own before, and I did like that. I've got Orlando on my shelf that I bought despite thinking I didn't like Virginia Woolf.
Well, I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
To be fair, it was a bookstore called the Book and Bar, which is exactly what it sounds like.
Oh, okay.
So I was
Well,
slightly intoxicated when I bought it, and the cover was pretty.
yeah, I've heard this though, that like Mrs. Dalloway is a more impressive and pivotal and academic read,
Mm,
but Orlando is actually a better, like it's more
okay.
entertaining. It's more entertaining. So I thought that was
Okay.
really interesting. But I haven't read Orlando. I read To the Lighthouse, which I quite liked, and I liked the themes that she pulled
Mm,
in that, and I loved A Room of One's Own. It was
yeah.
just, I mean, it's just so pivotal. All feminist literature that comes after it is influenced by it, in my opinion.
Yes, it
So
is.
yeah,
I'm teaching that as well.
A Room of One's
Actually.
Own.
Yeah, we're doing A Room of
Wow.
One's Own too.
I still think she's going to be polarizing regardless of what
Oh,
you
I
read.
know. I
I
know.
know.
I think honestly most of the books we're reading are going to be very polarizing. So
Well,
I can't wait.
you'll have to keep us updated. You'll have to do like, and take this with, do it if you want to do it, or and leave it if you don't. But you'll have to do. My suggestion is to do a video about like my students' general reactions
Yes.
to like Mrs. Dalloway or like A Room of One's Own. I'd be like, tell me,
We're
like, what
doing
are modern?
Frankenstein for the romantics. So
Yeah, gosh, Frankenstein, I had such a fight with that book because I found Frankenstein himself just so petulant
oh,
and
he's such a
so,
bad person.
oh, he is
Oh,
horrible.
he's so bad.
And like he's so not likable. And then he's just like, why are all these bad things happening to me? And I'm just like, you created it yourself, sir.
Poor me. I feel so horrible that this girl is going to be executed, but what can I do?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I know. And then someone in my comments after I talked about it, they were like, I think Frankenstein is horrible because he basically had like a child, the monster, and then he abandons it. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
literally like, that is so true. That's
it
so
is.
true.
And he
And I
doesn't
would,
even try.
no, he doesn't. And then like he's just the whole thing. And then it's just like, oh, I'm telling this story, and I promise you, I'm telling you this so that every detail is correct. And I'm like, that is not true. Like,
I know. I do not believe you, sir.
yeah, he's a horrible person. Well, this is exciting. Good things are coming on your channel, and I'm
Oh,
so
yes.
excited for it. I'm so excited. Well, I'm going to say thank you so much for bringing Mrs. Dalloway to my channel. What a great book to talk about. It's like a favorite of mine. So yeah.
Honestly, I gave it 4.5 stars, and the only reason it's not quite 5 is just I'm too Victorian
Really?
to deal with like such a strange structure.
Oh,
To me, I'm like,
interesting.
I loved it, but
You're like, I just also like structure
yes,
because it really is an uneven reading experience. She spends time in certain things where you're just like, I guess we're just moving through the world like today.
yeah.
So weird. Yeah.
And then there's no like ending where everything is just completely tied
Yeah.
up and we're all good. Like in a Victorian novel, even if it ends badly, it's still everything's tied up nicely.
Oh, that's true. Huh. Well, I have more things to think about then. I'll have to reread that because it has been over a year, and I just think it's a good book to revisit.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah,
Because I would have spent the
absolutely.
rest of my life thinking I didn't like Wolf.
She's she I think she's an acquired taste. I really do. Because there are some people in this world that truly, and that commenter is not the only one that just truly cannot get into her. Well, I'm gonna thank you so much for being on my channel and
Thank you so much for
sharing.
having me.
And yeah, I guess I'll say goodbye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.